Today, we are going to focus on the media, mainly how the corporate media are terrible and how we need a media revolution in this country in order to get to a political revolution where the government works for the people again. The first step in that is a media revolution. So first, I'm going to just lay out what a lot of folks know, which is how bad the corporate media is. Although I should amend that. They're actually really good at their job. It's just that most people are wrong about what their job is, and they lie about what their job is. Their job is to keep people watching through the commercials. Their job is to sell widgets, to make money for their corporate owners. Their job is not to deliver true, accurate, and contextualized information. Their job is to keep you watching through the commercials to make money for their corporate owners. Now, sometimes they also just tweak the news a little bit in favor of their corporate owners, generally by omission, generally by ignoring stories that either would negatively affect their corporate owners or would just shine a light on the dirty business that many of their corporate owners are involved in some way or not, or things like how disastrous the TPP trade agreement is. You know, that doesn't get a lot of corporate media limelight because the corporate owners of the media, they love the TPP. That thing is written for and by them, or by and for them. In fact, if you talked about the TPP on the corporate media, you might have lost your job on the corporate media. But there's so many things. Why don't we ever hear about Dakota Access Pipeline on the corporate media? Why don't we? There's a lot of talk right now about fake news, about the danger of fake news, and that's true. If you had social media connections with Trump supporters, you saw just an avalanche of patently false news. It was amazing. That was shared as if it was, without even a moment's thought of this can't be true. And I actually think that many people who share that fake news, they kind of know that it's fake, but they want to get that out there because it conforms to what they're thinking. So there's that. And, the corporate media loves to focus on the fake news and say, look at all this fake news. This was the problem. But I think that the problem with the corporate media in terms of magnitude dwarfs the problem with what they're calling fake news. And, Facebook has rolled out this big change to try to tamp down on fake news, which in general sounds okay, except to do it, they're relying on this handful of self-appointed fact checkers who actually come from the corporate media. The corporate media now is going to also determine what is fake and what is real. Well, I'll tell you that the corporate media, including these fact checkers, are often wrong, and they're always wrong in the direction of their corporate owners' bottom line, right? It's like the forgetful waiter who always returns the wrong change. It just always happens to be in his favor. And, when it's in his favor 100% of the time, when the corporate media's coverage is in the direction of their corporate owner's bottom line 100% of the time, you have to understand that's why they exist. Now, I'm kind of preaching to the choir here, because if you're watching the Thom Hartmann program or listening to the Thom Hartmann program, you've already found a truth teller. You've already gone out and found a truth teller. But what I think we need to do now more than ever in 2017, now more than ever, is find more truth tellers, raise up the voices of people who are dedicated to getting the truth out there. The truth that what we're seeing is not an accident, that that the upward redistribution of wealth, the flat line that is middle class wages, working Americans' wages, the actual diminishment in real terms of American workers' wages, the astronomical growth in the wealth and income of the super rich, that none of this is an accident and none of this is natural. This is all by policy, by design, by design. There's a lot of stories that are ignored, but that's kind of the big one that's ignored all the time, as if what's going on with the hollowing out of Main Street was just, oh, well, that's just that's not just what happens. When Walmart is getting subsidized, when Walmart, which is owned by the Walton family, who collectively are the wealthiest family on earth, who have more money than any other family on earth, the Walton family is subsidized by yours and my tax dollars. Your and my tax dollars go directly into the pockets of the wealthiest family in the world. When you study systems of upward redistribution of wealth in history classes, when you studied it, when you heard about it, it was called feudalism. Feudalism was when the lords owned the people and land in an area and extracted wealth from the people and on those lands and the land. What we're looking at right now is a global feudalism, where a global elite, the top 1% in the world, have as much wealth as the bottom 99% of the global population. Senator Bernie Sanders just pointed out on his Facebook, on his social media the other day, oligarchy is not a uniquely American problem. And that's important for people to understand. This is not just happening here. This is a global phenomenon where a very tiny number of people are extracting all of the wealth into their pockets. And these levels of wealth inequality create the instability that we're seeing all over the world and here in America. And here's why we need the media revolution. The global oligarchs, the oligarchs right here at home, they maintain their power and privileged position by making it appear like there is nothing that we can do, by making people afraid, curled up in the fetal position. And then, to get to get real about what's going on, some of these global oligarchs, like the Sackler family who owns Purdue Pharmaceuticals, are pouring opioids into communities around this country, the communities whose manufacturing bases are destroyed due to trade deals, quote unquote deals, that are crafted to enrich only the global oligarchs. I should be honest here. There are two winners actually in these trade deals, and I don't begrudge some of them. I do begrudge some of them. It's the global oligarchs, and then generally working people in poorer countries. So working people in China saw their standard of living vastly improve in the age of globalization. Working people in advanced economies saw their standard of living decline, saw their real income decline. There's a really famous chart, and I'm going to be speaking with Richard R.J. Eskow, and I want to talk to him about this, but a little preview is called the elephant chart of globalization. And it shows the gains are, it looks like an elephant. So it's basically poorer working folks in poorer countries, they gain. And then you have working folks in advanced economies, they lose. And then you have the elephant trunk, which is the global oligarchy and they gain everything. But really what the media is trying to say is paint a picture that there's nothing we can do. There's a million things we can do. First of all, we can stop subsidizing Walmart. We can stop subsidizing them. They pay poverty wages. They give out slips of paper to their associates who they don't call employees because they don't want to have to treat them fairly. They give out slips of paper that tell them how to sign up for public assistance programs because Walmart knows that the wages that they pay are so low that no one can live on them. So they tell them how to sign up for public assistance programs, which means your and my tax dollars are being upwardly redistributed directly into the pockets of the Walton family. First, let's stop that. Let's force Walmart to pay a living wage. Let's raise the minimum wage to a living wage. This is a policy that will actually help change the shape of that elephant chart. We have to have tax and spend policies that are honest about the winners and losers of what's going on with globalization. You're not going to be able to put globalization back in the bottle, but you definitely don't have to hit the gas all the time on it. And we need to recognize that our public policies, our tax and spend policies, need to create a fairer, a more fair situation for the workers in America who are losing out in this system. So where do you get that money? From the winners, the global oligarchy. That's where. It's really easy. You tax them and you spend the money on things that will help working Americans. Let's build some bridges. And the best thing you can spend money on that helps working Americans the most are things that then will last as investments in America's future. Let's build infrastructure, roads, bridges, water treatment plants, all sorts of public infrastructure. Let's tax the super rich and build things for America, for the future. But the media is not going to tell you that. And that's why we need a media revolution. I want to hear your calls after this break. You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. I'm Alex Lawson.